On this week's episode of the Kegel Show, I welcome my dear friend Søren Aahmen from Denmark, also known as the happiest country in the world. He's a bowler, a technician, a lanesman, and now a center manager. Stay with us to hear how they do it on the other side of the pond. We hope you enjoy, and thanks for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kegel Show. My name is Don Agent. I will be your host this week, and it is with great pleasure to introduce a dear friend of mine, competitive bowler and pillar in the Danish bowling community, Søren Aahmen. Glad to have you out here with us this time again. Søren, you have quite an interesting background. You were actually part of the 2000 six-man Danish national team that won the championships. You worked 8.5 years for Boltec Denmark as a traveling lane maintenance specialist as well as a lanesman at different events. And you're currently a center manager in your hometown bowling center.
That's correct.
You grew up in Odense, Denmark, which I just think is too cool, and we'll get into that. Ladies and gentlemen, myself and Soren and Tina and Emma have been dear friends for many years. They're essentially my Danish family, and we're very happy to have you down. You guys are actually down for vacation.
Yes.
Your family's sitting on the other side of the camera kind of watching us, so we've got to make sure we've got our P's and Q's minded. We haven't been able to visit as much, obviously, the last couple of years. You've been inundated with a lot of center refurbishing and
Yep.
business developments over there. But bowling has been running through your blood and through many phases of the bowling industry for a number of years. So let's just cut to it. I mean, what got you into bowling?
Well, actually, I started bowling when I was 9. The first time my dad took me to the bowling center. My dad used to work at the bases in Greenland where he was bowling. So when he came back, he took me one day to a bowling center, and I was just hooked right away. And at that time, I was also playing chess, and I was playing soccer, and I was competitive swimming also. So I had a lot going on at that time. And when I got to the age of 13, my mom and dad said, "You have to choose.
You got too many things."
Yeah, I had too many things going on. You had to choose, and it was an easy choose for me. I chose bowling. So I started practicing a lot, and at the age of 14, I made the youth national team, and I was playing there for 4 years, and that was fun. It was a lot of training and practice all the time.
Absolutely.
But I liked it, and when you are in a bowling center, you get a lot of friends, and you just hang out there every day for a few hours, and it was a great time in my life. Then I got 18, and I had to play against the seniors, and that was a different world. So it was much
moving up to that next bracket.
Yeah, it was much tougher, and I suffered for a couple of years there, and I didn't really know what to do. When you get that age, it's also interesting to go out and party a little, and so you get a diversion in your life. So eventually, I agreed with my wife or my girlfriend at that time, that I had to go all in if I wanted to play the national men team. So it took me 2 years to get into that team. So my first event for the national team in Denmark was the World Men's Team in Abu Dhabi in '99, where we actually would have met if you were doing that
and
tournament.
Ahmed Shaheen won that, I believe, as far as all events,
Yeah.
if my memory serves me correctly.
That
was a pretty
correct.
impressive event.
Yeah, it was. It was amazing to come down there.
Speaking of that, I mean, you've obviously traveled the world for bowling. I mean, and leading kind of into this bowling for Denmark. I mean, what is that feeling that you have when all of a sudden, I mean, you've won a medal, for your country? I mean, what does it feel like in that moment?
Well, unfortunately, I never won a medal actually, but just representing your country is special, and you practice for it, and you get out there and you try to do your best, and even at that time there was a lot of good bowlers there, so it was tough, but I liked it, and it was a great experience. I had 3 years on the national team before I quit because my daughter was born, and
Sure.
I agreed with my wife that when we have a child, I will put that aside for the high level and look more into the family life. So.
Then you started I know you did some other business things before you really got hardcore into the bowling aspect of it, but let's talk a little bit about your industry background. Obviously you worked for Klaus for 8.5 years, Boltec, Denmark. I mean, you traveled throughout Europe installing lane machines, Kegel lane machines.
Yes.
You and I trained together.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
what was it kind of like doing that? I mean, what was some of the experiences? Did you enjoy? I mean, I know the road gets old, but
No, but it was a whole new world to get into because as a bowler, you see one side of the whole business, and suddenly I had to go on another side of the business and look more into the business side, and selling lane machine, doing customers work,
Sure.
making good relationships for the business and all that, and I really liked it. My boss Klaus, he was a great guy. He let me do almost what I wanted to do. He supported me, and that also made me you make good relationship with you in 2007, I think we met, and that's the good thing I think about the bowling in general. When you meet people, you make good relationships, and they will last forever.
it's like a global family. I always say we go to
it
these
is.
tournaments and Bowl Expo and things. It's like a giant family reunion every time.
Yeah, it is.
Shout out to Klaus, Linda, and the whole staff at Boltec Denmark. You also were, you were a lane man. I mean, you've done, some pretty big events. What was kind of the feeling? I know you've done some in your home center, and you've done some other things and set up for them. What was it like being on that side versus throwing the ball down the lane? Now you're all of a sudden the center of attention and being in charge of that great responsibility.
I mean, we didn't have that thing in Denmark where we actually had people go out and do the lane maintenance. It was always the local guys doing it. But at one point I said to Klaus, let's make a deal with the Danish Federation and try and put in some of the stuff that Kegel does on a level here in Denmark also. So and the federation were all for it. So for 3-4 years, I think we did the Danish championships, different stuff, and we made patterns for the Danish league where the best teams play. So they were doing competitive patterns all the time instead of just playing house shots. And we still do that actually in Denmark. So I think what we started up there was actually a good path to go into. But being on the other side and I think my advantage was that people knew me as a bowler, so they respected me also for doing the lanes. So there wasn't all that, if you can say, bullshit that you sometimes have where people go around and nag about the patterns and stuff like that. They knew the background I had, so I was doing the best I could, and people was actually quite satisfied with that, I think.
That's a cultural difference, I'll tell you, brother, because a lot of times in America, being a bowler and being in charge of the lanes is not exactly winning a popularity contest.
No.
Because a lot of people think you got that inside advantage, but you know as well as I do, in the end, you still have to execute throw shots, repeat shots.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You can have all the knowledge in the world, but you've got to be able to pull it
And
out.
even though, I always had the rule that when I was doing the lane, I wasn't playing the tournament, because doing national championships, I would actually like to play also.
But you can't, conflict of
No,
interest.
I wouldn't want that conflict, so I was on the other side, and I liked that for those years.
So now, I mean, literally, if you have, different events in your center or what have you this time, I know it's went through some changes, and we're going to go right into that actually. I mean, we mentioned earlier, you kind of had your dream come true when you told me this opportunity was coming up where, wow, I'm going to get to actually manage the bowling center that I grew up bowling in my community, and I've spent a lot of time with you and your family in Odense, and I love it, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful place. What do you guys do that is different? Because I know some things that are different about like who owns the center and how the operations are and some of the clientele. What are some of the things different on that side of the pond for our viewers versus what you've seen here, actually?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say that I stopped working for Baltic not because I actually wanted to, but this opportunity came up with the center thing. I always said if I want to manage a center, it has to be my home center because we are into sport bowling. I liked working for Klaus, and it was I was almost crying.
I know that was a hard decision.
I was crying when I left.
Remember.
So, but this opportunity came up, and I went for it. And yeah, we have a center that is actually owned by the bowlers. So meaning that all the money we make or all the investments we make, we do it for the bowlers. So
it's a community-controlled center.
It's a community-controlled center, but we own it. We have leased it for 25 years, yeah. So all the events we make and all that, it's every day for the bowlers. We are in a situation now also where we cannot live from the tournament bowlers and stuff like that anymore. I mean, it's been going down for us a lot. So we had to look into new ways of making business, so we can still proceed for the goal, which is making it the best possible center for the bowlers. And so last year we took a quite difficult decision, actually, that we took down 4 lanes. So instead of having 24 lanes, we went to a 20-lane center, and instead we put in 5 indoor simulator golf courses. And we think golf is still a sport that is on a high level, and the people we want to come in and use these simulators are golf players who practice in the wintertime, because in the wintertime in Denmark you cannot play outside.
Can't go out and play golf, exactly.
Not at all. So we installed those 4 simulators, or 5, and it has been great. I mean,
and you know what? It offsets some revenue for the bowling center as well, which allows you to be able to do more things for the bowling community.
Yeah,
also.
I mean, we need to survive, and doing this actually seems to be working the right way. We had a good winter season, a lot of play inside, and yeah, they go good in span. But the bowlers we have there, I mean, they are doing their sport, we are doing our sport, and we all can be in the same center, actually. So it seems to be, if we can continue this, this will save our bowling center for a long time, actually.
That's fantastic. You still actively compete. I mean, I know that, correct?
I still play the Danish National League, which is the highest level of team bowling you can do, and I like it. I don't play as often as I would like to. I don't practice as much as I would like to, but...
the business sucks up that time.
Yeah.
You still, I mean, what are you averaging now? I mean, you're talking competitive conditions. This is not on
I
7,
average
8 to 1 ratio.
No, I average 200 average.
200 on sports,
yeah.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are on that one at all. I mean, you know, it's just a total different level of playing. You know, as you know, when you go from bowling on the, you know,
oh yeah, yeah,
the big block with the shim into
yeah.
something that's a lot flatter and more blended. You
yeah.
know, before we close out, actually, I've got something from all of us here at Kegel we wanted to give you. This is actually a silver Kegel commemorative coin, and that's got the new logo on that for us. I know you collect some of our stuff, obviously, over there. I've given you some things over the years. My absolute pleasure. And I notice, hey, nice wrench, by the way, for the viewers there. And there's only a few of these. We got a 3rd one on his daughter's neck sitting there behind the camera. There's a 4th one to a dear friend of ours named Sven Skeepers in the Netherlands. Sven, if you're listening, hope you're doing well, my friend. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. Keep those wrenches turning and have a wonderful day.